Hi there, welcome to my views on news. Two new stories for you. Before that, an announcement. After around 90 minutes, I'll be back with this week's first live chat. And tonight, we'll focus on Ethiopia, Eritrea, war of words, conflicting positions taken by the two sides in the last 48 hours. Some statements issued. We'll analyze the position of the two parties, which of the two parties is taking a logical position. All that in tonight's live chat after 90 minutes. Looking forward to having a great session with you. Hopefully, you'll join with your questions and comments. Two news stories. First, a good news for the Ethiopian government, though you won't see the impact of this good news in coming days or weeks, but in the long run, this good news is going to be beneficial for the country. Secondly, viewers, a financial scandal is in the news, which is about TPLF, about donations for Tigray from abroad. What is being reported, any truth in the reports being shared in social media, mostly anti-TPLF critics and activists are sharing some content. The contents of the scandal are alarming, by the way. I never thought that Ethiopian YouTubers could be receiving such huge sums of money by political parties, by Ethiopian players living in Ethiopia or living abroad. Let's start with firstly, Ethiopian government has announced that it has reached an agreement with the creditors, and the government has announced that this agreement will lead to a relief for the Ethiopian economy, relief worth 2.5 billion US dollars. Well, firstly, we know that Ethiopian government has been in talks with its creditors to reschedule its loans. 8.4 billion US dollar is the outstanding Ethiopian debt. And Ethiopia wanted creditors, countries like China, like France, etc., to reschedule this loan payment. And for over a year, talks have been ongoing. The IMF deal reached in July gave the green signal for an agreement between Ethiopia and the other countries which gave loans to Ethiopia in the past. IMF Ethiopia agreement was reached in July last year. This agreement has been concluded in principle today. It means that it took around 7 months for the Ethiopian government to convince creditors to restructure Ethiopian loan. Restructure means deferred payment. It's not that loans have been cancelled. It's not that the Ethiopian debt has been cancelled. No. Debt has not been cancelled. Debt is there, but payment has been deferred for some time. By the way, when PM Abiy spoke at the parliament yesterday, he said that African countries carry unfair debt. That is what African countries have been demanding at AU summit too. African leaders asked international community, Westerners, to cancel the loans, the debt which Africa owes to the West. This is not loan. This is not debt cancellation. It is debt payment rescheduling. Ethiopia will pay $2.5 billion less in the next 5 years, from 2023 till 2028. Not next 3 years, you can say next 4 years. But this amount will be paid later. after that. So it will lead to a relief for the Ethiopian budget, but that in the short term, Ethiopia don't have to allocate huge sums of money for debt service. Ethiopia hopes that in coming years, its GDP growth will accelerate, it will generate revenue, and then it will be able to pay back loans. But if the GDP growth does not accelerate, and after 2028, or even before that, we could see a financial crisis. Ministry of Finance of Ethiopia broke this news, calling it a good news, a landmark agreement, paving the way for Ethiopia to spend more on other sectors. Yub Takalin, Minister of State of Foreign Affairs, has confirmed that this agreement has been reached in principle. China and France played a key role. Ethiopia defaulted on its Eurobond payments last year, but then it reached finance agreements with IMF, World Bank, and now this loan payment rescheduling agreement. It shows that at least Ethiopia is not on the verge of a default. It can go on, its economy can go on for some time. What will happen after 2 years? That's not clear, because if Ethiopia does not manage to secure fast-paced GDP growth in the next 2 years, then 2027 perhaps, and it could be very challenging for the Ethiopian government. Secondly, viewers, a financial scandal is in the news about Tigray. People have been raising huge sums of money in the name of Tigray. In the name of Fano too, huge fundraisings are underway since 2023, and we have been seeing reports of embezzlement of these funds. The story is about Tigray. Tigray Development Association, TDA, is an NGO registered in Minnesota, the US. While war was ongoing in Tigray, in 2021 and 2022, this NGO raised money for Tigray, raised mainly from the US. 113 million US dollars were raised in 2 years, 21-22. Where was the money spent? Around 60 million were sent to foreign individuals and organizations. Maybe though back then there was no banking system operating in Tigray. So maybe through black market, money was transferred to Tigray military, TPLF, or individual accounts of TPLF, Tigray military commanders. 50 million were spent locally. 50 million US dollars. It's a huge local investment, by the way, and it seemed that this money was spent on lobbying, on convincing US lawmakers to support TPLF. What is alarming is the detail of the expenditure of TDA. Dedabet Media was given 130,000 US dollars by TDA. Dedabet Media is pro-Debretsian group, I think, like Zara Media. I think these groups have been openly opposing Getachew, supporting Debretsian group. Dr. Halle was given 70,000 US dollars personally as well to his personal account. 70,000 US dollars were transferred. Apart from that, 130,000 were given for buying satellite equipment for Dedabet Media to start a satellite channel, I think. This is what Ethiopian YouTubers receive from abroad. And some of the YouTubers are based abroad. War is a business for them. War is a means of money making for them. Same is the case with some Amhara news outlets too. They also receive huge sums of money from diaspora. Diaspora organizations have the backing of the groups fighting in Ethiopia. So these organizations raise money. Those who contribute should ensure that the money reaches the people uh, for whom they donated the money. Problem is that those who contribute, they then just don't get information, or they don't demand information about audits, that where were the money spent. These NGOs working abroad, raising money in the name of Ethiopian groups, they should be bound by the contributors, that they'll share details of where the money was spent with the contributors, which does not happen mostly. People sometimes give a few hundred, less than $100. They don't want to see the actual spending, actual expenditure detail. But it shows that war basically is a money making business for some individuals in Ethiopia and abroad as well. They receive huge amounts of money, and then they back those which uh, back those groups, those ideologies, those individuals who support them. And that raises questions about the integrity and the reporting of these news outlets as well. Are they neutral? Are they fair in their analysis, in their topic selection, or are they biased? Aren't they part of the problem? Thank you for watching.